Ethan had only lived on planet Varana for 2 months. He came for quiet work, repairing old tech towers at the edge of the alien village. The air was clean, the sky was deep purple, and everything moved slowly, just the way he liked it. But the villagers had strange rules. They were peaceful, but always whispering behind his back. And every time sunset came, someone would remind him, "Lock your door tonight. Human, don't keep the lights on. Never open it if you hear footsteps." Ethan thought it was just alien superstition, maybe some old tale meant to scare children. So he smiled politely, nodded, and ignored the warnings. Then, one night, the village elder came to him. Her skin was silver and wrinkled, eyes glowing faintly like warm fireflies. She held his hand tightly and spoke in a soft voice. "She will walk tonight," the elder said. "The sister, the one in heat. She's not herself when it begins. She searches by scent, by instinct, not by choice." Ethan blinked, confused. "Who is she?" he asked. The elder only replied, "The one whose blood burns when the stars rise full." Then she walked away without another word. Later, he asked the market vendor what it meant. The vendor, a younger alien with 3 eyes, whispered, "They hide her deep in the woods, but sometimes she escapes. She doesn't mean harm, but if she bonds without control, it can destroy her." Ethan didn't know what bonding meant. He assumed it was some mating ritual, maybe something sacred, but again, he ignored the warning. That evening, a strong wind blew across the field. Rain began to fall in slow, heavy drops. Lightning cracked in the distant mountains. Ethan sat inside his small metal shelter, warming his hands near the heating unit. The wind howled outside like a living thing. Then he heard it. Soft steps on the porch. He froze. The rain was loud. But the footsteps were clear, slow, and bare. Someone was outside, standing in the storm. His heart beat faster. He remembered the elder's warning, but still, he stood up and walked toward the door. He placed his hand on the handle. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he whispered, "Is someone out there?" No reply, just the wind and a low breath. Like someone exhaling deeply. He could turn the lock now, close the lights, hide behind the curtain, or he could open it. His fingers turned the handle slowly. The door creaked open. Just a little. He saw nothing at first, just rain and wind. Then, from the edge of the shadows, she stepped forward. She was tall, alien but feminine, with dark skin that shimmered like wet obsidian. Her long hair clung to her shoulders, her eyes glowing with a faint pink light. She didn't speak, didn't move closer. She just looked at him, breathing hard. Ethan opened the door wider. The warm air from inside touched her and she shivered. Her body glowed slightly, not from light, but from heat. "Are you the one they warned me about?" Ethan asked gently. She didn't reply, but she took one step forward, slowly, carefully, like she was fighting something inside. Ethan stepped back, letting her in. Rainwater dripped from her feet onto the floor. She stood there silently, eyes locked on his, her chest rising and falling fast. "I'm not going to hurt you," Ethan said, trying to sound calm. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing just a little. Then she spoke for the first time, voice dry and cracking. "Why didn't you lock the door?" Ethan didn't know how to answer. Something about her felt dangerous, but also sad. Like she didn't want to be here, but had nowhere else to go. She took one more shaky step forward, then her legs gave out. Ethan rushed forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin burned like fire. She was burning up, her body shaking in his arms. She whispered again, "Too early. It started too early." He laid her gently on the couch, not sure what to do. She looked at him with fevered eyes. Then she whispered one final thing before losing consciousness. "Close the door before another one comes." Ethan turned and looked at the open door. The wind howled louder now, and in the distance, something moved, something watching. He stepped toward the door and froze. Someone, or something, was standing at the edge of the trees, not moving, just waiting. Asterisk. The rain had stopped, but the silence it left behind was even louder than the storm. Ethan stood by the door, hand frozen on the frame, eyes locked on the dark shape. Far beyond the trees, it didn't move, not even when the wind brushed the branches or when thunder grumbled in the distance. It was watching, waiting, and something deep inside Ethan told him that thing wasn't friendly. He slowly shut the door, locking it with quiet fingers. Then he turned to the girl lying on his couch, her skin glowing faintly like a dying star. She was breathing heavy, like every breath hurt, like her body was fighting itself. She wasn't just warm, she was burning. He knelt beside her, unsure of what to do. "Can you hear me?" he whispered. Her lips trembled, her eyes fluttered but didn't open. She mumbled in a strange language, alien words spilling like broken glass. Her arms moved slightly, reaching for the air. Then she grabbed his wrist, her grip shockingly strong for someone so weak. "Don't let them take me," she said in a whisper. Ethan didn't know who they were, but he nodded anyway. He wrapped her in a blanket, but it didn't help. Her heat was coming from inside. Something not normal, not human, Ethan had lived among. Aliens for years now, fixed their towers, shared meals, listened to their music. But this was something ancient, something primal. He watched her body twitch as if invisible flames were crawling under her skin. Her back arched slightly, her fingers curling into claws. She opened her eyes, just for a second, and looked right at him. "Your scent. It's too much," she whispered, voice like wind through fire. Too much, or not enough. Ethan didn't understand, but he didn't leave. He sat near her, careful not to touch, trying to keep calm. Every now and then, her breathing would slow, and then suddenly spike again, like her body was riding waves she couldn't control. She whispered another word, soft and broken. "Bond." The word stuck in Ethan's ears like a warning bell. He remembered what the elder had said, that if she bonded without control, she could be destroyed. But what did bonding even mean here? Was it emotional, physical, something else entirely? Outside, the wind picked up again, this time colder, sharper. The shape in the trees was gone. But that didn't bring peace. It brought a new kind of fear, the fear of something that moved. While you weren't looking, Ethan stood up and checked the door again, making sure it was locked tight. Then he turned off the light, letting the room dim into soft blue shadows. She seemed to calm down with the darkness, her body sinking deeper into the couch. Her skin still glowed, but softer now, like a lantern losing power. Ethan watched her sleep. Though it didn't look restful, every now and then her lips moved, whispering names or calling for help in her own language. Once, she even said, "Sister," like someone she'd lost, or maybe someone who never came. He leaned back against the wall, eyes heavy, but just as his head began to droop, her voice broke the silence again. "Why didn't you lock the door?" He looked at her, surprised. She wasn't asleep anymore. She was looking at him with glowing eyes, not scared, not angry, just curious. "I thought you might need help," Ethan replied. Her lips curled into something like a smile. "You're strange for a human," she said softly. "Most would run, most do," Ethan shrugged. "Maybe I'm not like most." Her eyes lingered on him a moment longer, then closed again. But this time, she didn't look like she was in pain. This time, she looked safe. Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know who was out there in the woods, or why they were watching. He didn't even know what she truly was, or what was truly happening to her. But one thing was certain: when he left the door open, he didn't just let in a girl. He let in a storm, and that storm had only just begun. The fire alarm didn't go off, but it should have, because the heat coming from her body was unnatural, almost dangerous. Ethan woke to sweat on his skin and a heavy pressure in the air. It felt like standing too close to a volcano. He rubbed his eyes and turned toward the couch. She was glowing again, brighter than before, skin like hot metal under her strange tunic. She wasn't asleep anymore. She was sitting upright, eyes locked on him, lips parted like she was about to say something. "Important. You're still here," she said quietly. Her voice was calmer, but it shook with something. Hunger, fear, or maybe something deeper. Ethan nodded slowly, unsure if he should be proud or terrified. "I said I wouldn't leave," he replied. The alien girl stood up unsteadily, her legs trembling as if they were borrowed from someone else. She walked toward him with slow steps, like a dancer moving through fire. Her skin shimmered like wet gold, and her eyes glowed with a deep pink light that pulsed gently. She stopped just a few inches from him, breathing in deeply. "You smell strange," she whispered. He blinked, unsure what to say. "Good strange or bad strange?" he asked. Her answer was a soft smile and a sudden step back, like even that close was too much for her body to handle. "I'm not supposed to be here," she said, looking around the small room. "I was hidden, far from males, until the heat passed, but something pulled me here." Ethan felt a chill despite the heat. "What do you mean, pulled you here?" She didn't answer, instead placing her hand over her chest. "There's something inside me, something old," she said. "When it awakens, it searches for balance. Or it breaks me." He watched her carefully. "You mean the heat? Like some biological thing?" She nodded, her expression becoming tight with discomfort. "It's more than that," she said. "We don't just mate. We bond soul to soul, nerve to nerve. If it fails, the body begins to burn itself from inside out." Ethan stepped closer, concerned. "Are you dying?" Her silence was answer enough, but then she looked up at him again, eyes burning now with intensity. "Your touch," she whispered. "It calmed me before. Humans. We were warned about your kind. You break rules. You touch without fear. And right now I need that." Ethan swallowed hard, his heart thudding. He had no idea what he was doing, no idea what he was getting involved in. But he couldn't ignore her pain, her trembling body, the way she looked at him like he was her last hope. So he slowly reached out, placing his hand gently on her arm. The moment their skin met, something invisible rippled through the room. Not a sound, not a flash, but a deep vibration, like two songs trying to find the same rhythm. Her body jolted, her breath caught, and her knees buckled again. Ethan caught her quickly, lowering her to the couch, but this time, her body didn't thrash or burn. This time, she exhaled deeply, eyes wide with shock. "That helped," she whispered, almost in disbelief. Her fingers gripped his shirt tightly, not letting him pull away. "I don't understand," she said. "You shouldn't be able to do this. Only bonded males can calm us, only those born of our kind." Ethan stared at her, feeling the heat from her hand pulsing through his chest. "Well," he said carefully, "maybe I'm just full of surprises." They both laughed, quietly, awkwardly. But it didn't last long. A loud thump echoed outside, heavy, slow, like a footstep. Then another. Ethan stood up fast, walking to the window. In the moonlight, a shape moved just beyond the tree line. It was bigger than before, bulkier, and walking straight toward the cabin. The girl sat up quickly, face pale with fear. "No," she breathed. "Not now. He's not supposed to come this close." "Who is he?" Ethan asked, already grabbing the metal rod he used to fix broken machines. She stood behind him, her body glowing again, not from fever, but from panic. "He followed me," she said, voice shaking. "He's not like you, Ethan. He wants to bond, but only to claim, not to care." The sound outside grew louder, closer. Then came a growl, not from a throat, but something deeper, like metal grinding through stone. Ethan's grip tightened around the rod. The girl whispered one more word, barely louder than the air itself. "Run." The knock on the door never came. Instead, the wooden frame began to shake, not from the wind, but from something breathing heavily on the other side. Ethan didn't speak, didn't move, just stared at the handle, waiting for it to turn on its own. The girl stood behind him, shaking, not from cold, but from something deeper, something wired into her bones. "He found me," she whispered again, voice hollow. "Who is he?" Ethan asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. "My kind." "But not my kind," she said, eyes glowing faintly. "He was chosen for me long ago, before I could speak. But I ran before the bond could be sealed." Outside, the heavy steps circled the cabin. Slow and steady, Ethan could hear claws scraping the walls, testing them. The girl pressed her back to the far corner of the room, her glow pulsing like a warning light. She looked smaller now, like her strength was being pulled out of her by the second. "Why now?" Ethan asked, his voice tight. "Because I bonded with you," she said, eyes locked on his. "Even just a little, even by accident. It changed me." And he felt it. The door groaned as weight pressed against it, but it held. Ethan moved quickly, dragging shelves and boxes to block it. "You think that'll stop him?" she asked weakly. "No," Ethan said, "but it might slow him down." She tried to smile, but it vanished as pain rippled through her body again. She dropped to her knees, clutching her chest. "The heat," she gasped. "It's worse now. He's pulling it from me, forcing it to rise." Ethan rushed to her, lifting her into his arms again. Her skin was too hot to touch, but he didn't care. He placed her gently on the floor near the cool tiles, wiping the sweat from her forehead. Her breathing came fast and ragged, like she was drowning in air. "Tell me what to do," he said, desperate. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You already did," she said, "before he came." "Your touch. It slowed the fire. It's not about control. It's about choice." Thunder rolled again, closer this time, but there were no clouds in the sky. It was him. Ethan realized, not a storm, but a force, a living hunger. Ethan took her hand, holding it tightly. "I'm not going to let anyone take you," he said. Her eyes widened, tears forming. "No one's ever said that to me," she whispered. "Not even my own." Then the cabin wall cracked, just one line long and deep. A claw had sliced straight through the outer steel. A voice followed, deep and strange, echoing through the walls like a growl underwater. "Release her," the voice said, not in words, but inside Ethan's head. Ethan stood, placing himself between the wall and the girl. He didn't speak back to the voice. He just breathed slower. She sat up slowly behind him, shaking her head. "He won't stop. Not unless I go out there." "No," Ethan said firmly. She tried to stand, but stumbled. "Even if I bond with you now, my body can't survive it all at once," she said. "It's too fast, too soon. But I can't delay either." Ethan turned to her, holding both her hands. "Then we find another way," he said. Her glow brightened, and something flickered in her eyes, something like hope. "You would risk yourself?" she asked. "For me?" He nodded without hesitation. "You came to my door. I opened it. Now you're not leaving alone." Another crack split the wall, sharper this time. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the floor trembled beneath their feet. The cabin wouldn't hold much longer. The thing outside wasn't just a male. It was a predator. The girl reached forward, placing her hands on Ethan's chest. Her fingers trembled, her glow shifted. "If I start the bond, just a little, it will buy time," she said. "But once it begins, we can't break it." Ethan leaned in close, not in passion, but in promise. "Then don't stop," he said softly. "If it keeps you safe, don't stop." She closed her eyes and leaned, her forehead against his, and for a moment, everything went silent. No heat, no pain, no growling outside. Just two breaths, joined in perfect rhythm. Then the front wall exploded inward, and the nightmare stepped through. He didn't walk through the wall, he broke it like paper. The sound wasn't just loud, it was wrong, like bones snapping inside the ears. Ethan staggered back, shielding the girl with his body. Dust and splinters floated through the air. And standing in the middle of it all was a figure too tall, too sharp, and too still. The rival had arrived. And he wasn't there to talk. His skin was black like oil, moving even when he stood still, eyes like molten rock, burning without light. His arms were too long, ending in fingers that curved like knives, but it was the voice inside Ethan's head that hurt the most. "You," the creature said without moving its mouth. "You touched what was promised." Ethan felt the pressure in his skull grow like a weight pushing inward. The alien girl groaned behind him, her body pulsing with light and heat again. She was shaking, not from fear, but from something being pulled out of her. He was draining her just by being close. "I didn't promise her to anyone," Ethan said aloud, voice shaking but steady. The rival's head tilted slightly. "Your words mean nothing," the voice replied. "Your kind does not understand bond." Ethan stepped forward anyway. "I don't care about your rules," he said. "She didn't choose you. She came to me." The rival's chest rippled like liquid glass under pressure. Then he raised a hand and pointed one long claw at Ethan. "Then fight," the voice echoed. "Win her, or die beside her." Ethan didn't have claws, or armor, or ancient strength. What he had was a piece of metal pipe, and a heart that refused to run. He swung first, hitting the creature across the face. It barely moved, then it grabbed Ethan and threw him across the room. The wall cracked, his breath vanished. Pain exploded in his ribs, but still, he got up behind him. The girl was crawling toward him, hands glowing faintly. "You can't fight him like this," she said, coughing. "He's connected to the cycle. I'm making him stronger." Ethan turned to her, blood running down his lip. "Then break the cycle," he said. "Bond with me now." Her eyes widened. "It's not complete," she said. "If we do it wrong, it could kill us both." Ethan smiled bitterly. "Better together than apart." She hesitated, then crawled to him and pressed her glowing hands to his chest. The air shifted again, not warmer, but sharper. Energy passed between them like sparks on water. Ethan gasped as something invisible moved through him. The rival stepped forward quickly now, claws raised, but this time when he moved, something pushed back. A pulse of light exploded from the girl's body and threw him back. He landed hard, sliding across the floor like a broken shadow. He stood slowly, his molten eyes dimming just a little. Then he laughed, not with sound, but with a shaking pulse inside their minds. "She chose a human," he said. "She made her bed in dirt. But now, she's yours to burn." And then, he vanished, not walked out, vanished into nothing, leaving behind silence, dust, and the soft hum of two bodies still glowing with bond energy. Ethan collapsed to his knees, chest rising like he had run 1,000 miles. The girl leaned into him, face pale but calm. "You risked everything," she whispered. He looked at her and smiled, tired but proud. "So did you." She rested her head on his shoulder. "We're not finished," she said. "He'll return." Ethan looked around the ruined cabin, then down at her. "Then next time," he said, "we'll be ready together." Outside, the stars burned a little brighter, but inside, it was two hearts glowing quietly, strong enough to fight nature itself. Asterisk, the bond didn't end when the danger left. It began. Ethan thought the glow would fade, that her heat would cool. But as he sat with her in the broken cabin, something inside him began to change. He blinked slowly, his heart beating in a strange new rhythm. His skin felt too tight, his hearing too sharp. Every breath she took, he could feel in his chest. Every time her fingers brushed his, electricity danced up his spine. She noticed it too. Her eyes followed him like he was part of her now. When he moved, she moved, not copying, but responding, like two instruments finally playing the same music. "This is more than survival," she said softly. Ethan nodded, not even questioning it anymore. "What happens now?" he asked. She looked at him, a strange mix of worry and wonder in her face. "Now, we finish what we started," she said. Her voice shook, but not from fear, from truth. She stood slowly, her glow no longer wild. Now it pulsed calmly, like a heartbeat. She walked to him, placed her hand on his cheek. "You're changing," she said. "Your body is learning mine. It shouldn't be possible." But it is. Ethan didn't back away. He felt stronger and weaker at the same time. His senses stretched wider than his thoughts. He could hear wind far off, feel warmth through walls. "I feel connected," he said. She smiled softly. "That's the bond," she whispered, but only half finished. He raised an eyebrow. "What's the other half?" Before she could answer, a sharp crack filled the air, not outside, inside him. He dropped to his knees, clutching his chest. Fire flooded his bones, not painful, but hot enough to shake him. She rushed forward, her hands glowing again. "You're sinking too fast," she cried. "It's too early," he gasped, trying to breathe. But then the pain twisted and shifted. His body pulsed, and then stopped fighting. It wasn't hurting him. It was unlocking something. He stood slowly, breath steady now. "I can feel you," he said, voice low. "Like you're inside my blood." She stepped back, eyes wide. "You're not just bonded," she said. "You're becoming my match." Ethan blinked. "You're what?" She took a long breath. "My people bond with their match once in 1,000 cycles. It's rare, soul and instinct joining perfectly." He laughed softly. "You mean all of this happened because I left the door open?" She smiled, a little sad. "No," she said. "It happened because you didn't run." Suddenly, the lights flickered, not from power loss, but from something coming close. Her body tensed, and her glow dimmed. "He's back," she whispered. "But he's not alone." Ethan turned toward the shattered wall, now patched only by shadows. Outside, shapes moved in the darkness. Not just one, but many more of her kind, drawn by the heat, the bond, or the scent of something forbidden. "They'll try to break." "US," she said, stepping beside him. "They believe I made a mistake." Ethan tightened his grip on the metal rod. "They can believe what they want," he said. "They're not taking you." She looked at him like he was something new, something her people had never expected, something no warning could prepare her for. "You're not just resisting nature," she whispered. "You're rewriting it." And as the first shadow stepped into the broken cabin, Ethan's eyes glowed for the first time. His eyes glowed like hers now, but colder, blue instead of pink, steady instead of pulsing. The moment he looked at the approaching figures, they stopped, not in fear, but in confusion. They had never seen a human like this. A human touched by bonfire, still standing, still breathing, still holding her hand like she wasn't a mistake but a miracle. The others stepped closer, 6 of them, maybe 7. They were all tall, armored in skin that shimmered like stone under moonlight. Their eyes studied Ethan not as prey, but as a question no one had the answer for. One of them, older and heavier, spoke first. "Release the female," he said calmly. "You are not compatible." Ethan didn't move. "She chose," he said, "and I chose too." The girl beside him held tighter, her heat no longer wild. It was focused. Her glow merged with his now, like colors mixing into one fire. "You've broken a law older than your species," the leader said. "She was promised before." She could speak. Ethan tilted his head, his voice firm. "Then maybe your laws are broken." The group stepped forward, but the girl suddenly moved. Her eyes blazed hot, and her voice filled the cabin like a song-breaking stone. "I was never yours to claim," she said. "Not by birth, not by cycle, not by force." Her words struck them harder than any weapon. The air cracked with invisible pressure. Ethan stepped forward with her, 2 pulses beating as one. "Take one more step," he said, "and we show you what real bonding looks like." Silence hung like a blade. One of the younger males began to tremble. Another took a step back. Even the leader's glow flickered for a moment. "You have changed her," he said slowly. Ethan shook his head. "No," he said. "She changed herself." The older alien looked at the girl once more, then nodded. "Then may the bond burn clean," he said. With that, they turned and disappeared into the trees. No growl, no threat, just quiet surrender. When they were gone, the cabin felt like it could breathe again. Ethan dropped the rod. His arms finally relaxing, he turned to her, heart still pounding. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled, stepping into him, resting her head against his chest. "I'm more than okay," she whispered. "I'm finally mine." They stood there, together. Heat and calm wrapped like silk. No one spoke for a long time. Not because they had nothing to say, but because they had already said everything that mattered. Later, she helped him rebuild the wall. Later, they laughed, even danced under strange stars. Later, they would explain everything to the village. And be feared, maybe honored, but for now, it was just two beings who met by accident, and turned that accident into something sacred. He was warned about the sister in heat. He was told to lock the door, to stay inside, to fear her, but he opened it, and never closed it again, and what came in wasn't danger, it was destiny.